Hi guys, what is up? It's Sundar from Substance Over Style. So we have a completely different backdrop at the moment because, I bought this ring light. So I could do some casting tapes. I bought it from a shop here in Mexico City, and it is absolutely ginormous, and the tripod is bigger than my table. I can't get it behind the desk because the desk is screwed into the wall. So I did a little thing where I took the actual circle off and just propped it up on the table. That didn't really work. So we're going to film against the wall, see how we get on. I have to say, I do prefer the depth of field that you get when you're seeing into the bedroom. But then it also means I don't have to clean my bedroom before I film. So, although I do like a clean bedroom. But yes, how is everyone? It's been a couple of weeks since the last video. I had to take a little break because of tax returns, which are always busy. And in this week's Q&A, which we did on Instagram, got some really, really good questions. One of them, I think it was from Justina, or was it from Shay? I don't know which of you lovely ladies asked this question. It might have been someone else completely, asked me how to discern false light. So I was going to do a whole video on false light. I was making notes on it because it's not a simple answer. And then this whole palaver with the Grammys and Sam Smith came about, and I thought I'd better do a video about that. And I wasn't going to. I thought, I was in two minds about it because, this is just such like a desperate attempt for attention, and it's obvious that that's what he's doing, and that's what just celebrities in Hollywood just love to do in general. Same with the Balenciaga. They feed off outrage. They feed off our outrage, and they love the attention because, if everybody's outraged, then everybody's going to be making videos about it. Everybody's going to be talking about it, and then that obviously means that more people are going to go watch it, and he's going to become more famous, which is true. And I didn't want to feed into that. However, there are a few things which I think need to be said. So, sorry, we are going to talk about it. But having said that, I don't watch the Grammys. I still actually haven't watched it. I've just watched, his particular segment with the satanic dance. But the Grammys are not something that I've ever watched. I mean, I'm from the UK anyway, so what is CBS? I don't even know how to watch that. So I haven't watched it, and I don't normally watch stuff like that. I don't really care about celebrities, but I will talk about it if they're doing some nonsense because it affects society. They do, let's be real, they do have a lot of influence over the mainstream, and sometimes certain things need to be said in order to counter the narrative. So we're going to talk about it. Now, I don't really know what to do with the incense, or if you can even see the incense with the brighter lights. I need to get a plant, right? I need to do a full setup. I want to get one of those neon lights, Substance Over Style, and a plant, but we're actually leaving this place soon, hopefully. So, what should I do with the incense? I might just put it down on the floor right here. Let's put it on the floor. Let's see how that works. Yeah, so let me know what you think of this background. It feels a bit like I'm in prison, but anyway, let's get into it. Okay, so yes, last night, by the time this video goes up, it might be 2 nights ago or 2 days ago, Sunday, whenever it was, and there was a very problematic display of Sam Smith, who I believe is a they. I'm probably not going to remember to get the pronouns right, but did a very, very disturbing display where him and his dancers and his co-singer, whose name is, I don't know what her name is, I'm really sorry, I really don't care about celebrities. Maybe I should have. What's her name? I don't know, but anyway, she's the youngest person. I think she was the youngest person at that time to ever have gender reassignment surgery, which is another thing that I'll get into later. But they performed a very satanic ritual you know, with him dressed as Satan, with a bunch of demons in a cage, very sexually, what's the word? Sexually unholy. The opposite of sacred, profane, very sexually profane display. I think at one point it looks like they're all consuming him or eating him. And what was I going to say? Yes, and all of this was on primetime TV. And sponsored by none other than Pfizer. And this is the main reason why I thought, okay, I have to speak on this. Okay, because it's just so obvious now. They're telling us what they're doing. Like I spoke about in the Balenciaga videos. If you haven't watched my videos about Balenciaga, go and watch those, okay? They're putting it in our faces. This is what they're about. Now, I've watched some, you know, different opinions from other content creators. There aren't that many so far that are popping up on my algorithm, at least, that are having a nuanced opinion about it. Like, it's mostly just Christians are commenting on it. Piers Morgan has commented on it. Piers Morgan said something really stupid, where he was just like, oh, you're insulting Christianity, you know. I don't know if he actually had Sam Smith on the show, but he was like, oh, he's insulting Christianity. Why is that okay? You know, we're not allowed to insult, you know, any other groups, but somehow insulting Christianity is okay. He wouldn't do that with Islam. Why is he not insulting Islam? Actually, he is, okay? Like, Satan is not just an entity that is exclusive to Christianity. They believe in Satan in Islam. They believe in God in Islam, okay? He's insulting anybody who believes in any religion, that understands that there is a God and that there is outer realms or demonic influences. If you actually study esoteric Christianity, you'll know that there is not one actual Satan. Satan's not a real entity, okay? I've said this before, I will say it again, and it's very, very important to note. For the purpose of this video, Satan is not actually the name of a real guy. There's no real guy called Satan. Satan is a title. It's a name for basically the opposer, anybody who opposes God or goes against God. So even if you don't believe in Satan, that doesn't mean that you're not satanic. And this is the main thing that I actually want to get across through this video. I just watched the Young Turks and they were talking about how religious people are going crazy. Firstly, I'm not religious, I'm spiritual. And I'm not going crazy, but I understand a lot of people are outraged by the whole display. And he's like, they're going crazy because they're saying that they're promoting Satanism. It's just art. These people probably don't even believe in Satan. They're probably just atheists. Listen, most Satanists practicing, you know, self-described, self-confessed Satanists don't actually believe in a real entity called Satan. Let that land. They don't actually believe in a real entity called Satan. If they did believe in a real entity called Satan, they believed that Satan was real, or that there are demonic forces that will oppose God, or they believed that God was real, they believe that there is such a place as heaven, or there is such a place as hell, they probably wouldn't be Satanists, okay? I could be wrong. If there are any Satanists watching, let me know in the comments. Why would you choose to go to hell? Why would you not want to go to heaven? Why would you not want to be one with God? God is love. God is truth. God is everything good. You know, why would you choose to go against that unless you don't believe that God is real, okay? Most Satanists believe that okay, I did a video several years ago where I outlined the 4 pillars of Satanism. That video is quite old now, so I'll outline them again, okay? The first pillar of Satanism is self-preservation, okay? Self-preservation is the highest ideal. You put yourself first at all costs. This is why narcissism is one of the most satanic ideologies or personality disorders. Satanists are narcissists. They're the ultimate narcissists, okay? They worship themselves. Another pillar of Satanism is moral relativism. There's no such thing as good, and there's no such thing as bad. There's no such thing as wrong, and there's no such thing as right, that these things are subjective. They're whatever you want them to be. You decide what's wrong and what's right. It's personal. What you think is wrong is not wrong to someone else, okay? That isn't true, okay? There are actual definitions to what is wrong and what is right, okay? I've told you all to go and study natural law, specifically as taught by Mark Passio, because in my opinion, he's the best teacher, because he defines all of this stuff very clearly, okay? Wrong is something that causes harm to someone, okay? Now, obviously, there's nuances about how you can define what is harm and where, you know, where does wrong end and where it does right start, okay? Because it is a spectrum. So that's why he has like over 300 podcasts talking about this one thing, because it is nuanced, okay? I can't just sum it up in one video. But right, what is right is a right, as in human rights, like we all have the right to do this and we all have the right to do that, is something that doesn't cause harm. Anything that doesn't cause harm to another is a right, okay? Now, where these edges, you know, are defined, then becomes, you know, hotly contested and debated conversation, which is what the human journey is all about, you know, collectivism versus individualism and where those boundaries are. This is where all of the whole conversation around who has the right to decide what they do with their own body becomes such a hotly contested conversation, as we just saw over the last few years, which is why it's so interesting that the whole satanic ritual was sponsored by Pfizer, which they show right at the end of the music video of his performance, which I don't think was a coincidence. I think that this is predictive programming. No, what's the word? It's not predictive programming. What is the term? Karmic retribution, where they have to show you what they're doing. It's basically enacts the universal laws of consent. If they show you what they're doing and saying, look, this is what we're about, sponsored by Pfizer, yes, we support this satanic little dance performance that he just did, then you know. And you can't say that you didn't know. Now, a lot of people are saying, well, you know, they're probably just atheists, they don't believe in Satan. Well, I've already addressed that. If you don't believe in Satan and you don't believe in God, then you don't, your actions and, you know, how you conduct yourself throughout life is not influenced by a higher power. You are the highest power. That's a core pillar. That's a first core pillar of Satanism. Okay, so those are the two main pillars, and actually a lot of atheists do believe these things, okay? They believe that they are their own highest power, that there's nothing above them, there's no God, and also that morality is subjective. And those beliefs feed into each other. If you believe that there is no God, then you probably don't believe in natural law, because natural law is founded on, you know, the laws of the universe and consequentialism and the laws of cause and effect, the 7 hermetic principles, the idea that there's different dimensions and planes of causality which all emerge from one singular source, i.e. the Godhead. So if you don't believe in that, then you're not going to believe in the laws of morality. The third pillar of Satanism is social Darwinism. So the idea that there's a ruling elite that gets to decide top down, you know, how society should function, i.e. the belief in government. Many people do believe in government, and in a twisted way as well, that the government decides how we should be living our lives and we should all listen to what the government decides. That's actually not how the origins of government were. Actually, the people brought the government into being, and the governments were supposed to be public servants. They weren't supposed to be overlords, okay? Everything got completely upside down. I don't know why this isn't a pillar of Satanism, but it should be. But one of the principles of Satanism is inversion, okay? So I'll talk about that later. Like the fourth pillar is eugenics. So deciding who lives and who dies. So the idea that the world is overpopulated, which is not actually based in any proper data. Like much of the Earth's land mass is completely undeveloped. So the idea that the world is overpopulated is based on what? I don't know, but that's a satanic ideology. So if you believe that the world is overpopulated, then unfortunately you believe some satanic ideology. Another core principle of Satanism, I don't know why this isn't one of the 4 pillars, but is inversion, so turning everything on its head. Good is bad, wrong is right, up is down, you know what I mean? Male is female. Which is also another reason why I felt like I had to speak on this, because I feel like with, you know, Sam Smith now identifying as non-binary and his co-star being the youngest person to ever have medical reassignment surgery and be the first transgender woman to receive the award, doing such a satanic display is extremely bad for the LGBT community. And I really hope that some influences within the LGBT community actually speak out and denounce this. Just like, you know, Gays for Groomers are speaking out against all the nonsense that's happening now in the particularly in the trans community, you know, where they're saying things like, you know, transgender women are the same as real women and should be allowed to participate in sports. There should be no gatekeeping, and so you're allowing whoever to self-identify, which is resulting in issues like, you know, there was recently that rapist guy in the prison who he'd raped several women, and then he decided that he now identifies as a woman, and they were going to allow him to be in a female prison. So, you know, a lot of the ideology is extremely dangerous. Let's, you know, also, you know, talk about what's happening with the medical transitioning of children and how that's being like baked into like US law. Thankfully, a lot of countries are now doing a U-turn on that, because so many detransitioners are coming out and talking about the harmful ideology behind it. Now, I'm not against people being transgender, but I want to speak on why so many people within particularly the right-leaning, more conservative, religious conspiracy camps equate transgenderism with Satanism. It's very nuanced and it's also very symbolic, okay? And I want to explain it from an esoteric perspective so that we don't get these kind of like very knee-jerk, simplistic deductions that basically say that anybody who's transgender is satanic, because it's just not true, okay? I don't think that people choose to have gender dysphoria or choose to be transgender. I do think, you know, having said that, I do think that there's like a massive push right now where, you know, identifying as, you know, non-binary or just whatever, you know, you've now got people identifying as different animals, which I think comes from the fetish and kink community, and they're now, you know, teaching it in classes with like, you know, underage children, which I think is really wrong. Where was I going with this? What was I going to say? Yeah, I've seen that this whole non-binary thing is massively trending at the moment, to the point where it's just becoming ridiculous. Like, I'm not saying that being non-binary is ridiculous. If you don't identify as either, and I feel like there are people who genuinely, to look at them and to see their embodiment and their energy, it's confusing, like whether they're male or female. Like, you couldn't necessarily tell, or you can maybe tell that they're male or female, but their expression or their energy is the opposite of that. Like a woman who's extremely masculine and is clearly not just any old, you know, it's normal that some of us can have inversions in our Christ Sophia Union template, where, like, for me as a heterosexual woman, you know, I've been very in my wounded masculine energy for many years, which is why I'm now on this journey of hero scale. I'm also now teaching it to others. But I'm talking about more of like, you know, there's certain people who are actually like two-spirit, or, you know, like in India, Pakistan, since very ancient times, there's been an entire legally recognized third gender of Hijra, who are usually, it's actually not clearly defined. Sometimes they're eunuchs, or like, you know, like intersex, or sometimes they are males who have a more feminine expression. So I think that that's something that we need to recognize as a thing, has always been a thing. It's not something that people choose, but now it's becoming like a trendy woke thing, and there's some people that are just jumping on the bandwagon, and it's just getting ridiculous. Like there's this one person that I follow on Instagram, and she's clearly a girl. I mean, she looks like she's a girl, like I'm a girl. Like she's feminine, she's female, and she dresses like a girl, and she's now identifying as non-binary, and she's managed to forge quite a successful modeling career out of this identity that she's forged for herself. And this is not a person who would otherwise have been able to have a modeling career before all of this woke push, you know. You know, there were strict requirements about, you know, what it takes to be a model, but now it seems like you can just call yourself non-binary, and you don't even have to dress like the opposite gender. You can just say that you are, and that, in my opinion, is ridiculous. I'm not saying that everybody who's non-binary is ridiculous. I'm just saying that, you know, the whole let's get rid of the gatekeeping, I think, is ridiculous, because I think that there should be some gatekeeping, because some people are just being ridiculous with it, and saying that like being a transgender woman is exactly the same as being a actual biological woman is also nonsense, because it's not the same experience. Like, we have a completely different experience. We bleed, we have the possibility to get pregnant, which completely changes our relationship to men. Because of that, it makes us much more vulnerable, and it shifts the whole polarity. And, you know, all the conversations that I have with y'all about gender and about, you know, how men and women relate to each other don't necessarily apply to transgender women, because of the fact that they cannot get pregnant. Now, some of that will apply to women who can't necessarily get pregnant, but you know, that doesn't mean that you know, that they're the same. You know, if you can't get pregnant as a woman and you're still a woman, some of that won't necessarily apply to you. But that does, you know, anyway, I'm digressing. But the reason why I wanted to talk about this is because, okay, we're going to talk about this, about esoteric symbology right now, when it relates to kind of gender ideology. I found the picture. I mean, they say that this is Satan, but there's actually, Satan's not a real guy. But I think this is either Moloch or Baal, who is often said to be Satan because he is the opposer, or he opposes God. But he's a pagan deity. And as you can see, he's doing the as above, so below. That's by the way, that symbol is not inherently satanic, okay? This is taught in the Hermetic principles as well. As above, so below. As within, so without basically means that you can understand that higher dimensions by that they're a mirror image of what's happening within. Or like the outer world is a mirror of what's happening within you. Obviously, it's a bit more complicated than that. I encourage you all to go study it. But the main thing that I want to draw attention to is how he is depicted as both a male and a female. Like he has both male and female characteristics. You can see he has a very masculine physicality with the broad shoulders and the strong muscles, but he also has female breasts, okay? Now, this is not to say that a transgender person is satanic, okay? This is symbolic. What this means, it's basically reflective of the internal polarization or the satanic inversion of Satanism, or the opposition against God, okay? The further you get from the Godhead into, you know, the material realms, the more duality there is, okay? So he's representing the ultimate duality as expressed by the human being in male, as the principle of gender, okay? Male and female are two opposites of the same coin, okay? And this is why I also say that the polarity teachings, which are very popular nowadays, And a lot of Christian conservative coaches will teach polarity teachings and say that this is God's design and this is the most natural way to be. And that isn't 100% true, okay? I can be quite conservative with some of my views, and I do believe in gender roles, okay? Me and my partner have quite a polarized relationship when it comes to our roles within, our household. However, having too much of a polarized relationship is harmful, because extreme polarization, where the man is very, very in his masculine, the woman is very, very in her feminine. Do you know what the most extreme example of a polarized relationship is? It's a relationship between a narcissist and a codependent, okay? When you get into extreme left brain, alpha, toxic masculinity, not saying that masculinity is toxic, I'm just talking about a particular type of masculinity when it goes too much to the extreme and it becomes extremely polarized. Please study the Hermetic principles, the principle of polarity and the principle of gender. It's a spectrum, right? So extreme masculine is a narcissist, and extreme feminine is this wounded feminine, codependent energy, bending over backwards, not having a spine because she doesn't have masculine integration. Please watch my videos about the wounded feminine. I've got lots of videos talking about this kind of dynamic, and this is why those two will have a magnetic chemical attraction, okay? If you're looking for a relationship which has strong chemistry, you're looking for a relationship that has a trauma bond, okay? So, a healthy relationship where the two have harmonized their energies and the masculine and the feminine energy has started to merge and unify, okay? So what I want to also add is the fact that, this opposer has both male and female qualities doesn't mean that anything that has both male and female qualities is satanic, okay? And this is where people get it twisted when it comes to the transgenderism. Because if you look at Hijra communities in South Asia, they worship very ancient, they basically follow the most ancient religion we've ever had, which is worshipping the mother goddess, the feminine principle of God, or unifying those two polarities. The same reason why two-spirit people were revered and treated as mystics within, Native American society. Obviously, I understand there's not just one Native American society, and I'm kind of amalgamating them and generalizing a little bit here just for the purpose of this discussion, but they were respected much more than they are in our society, because it was understood that they could see things from both perspectives. So they were basically having an alchemical wedding within their temple of their own body without the need of a partner to mirror those traits back to us, okay? For most heterosexual people, the process of hieros happens within a relationship. I believe for a transgender person, you wouldn't necessarily need a partner to have that, because that can happen within your own self. Now, obviously, I can only speak from the lens of my own experience, so maybe if there are any transgender people watching, they can comment and let me know if their journey of, balancing those two polarizing genders is able to happen within their own experience without needing the external mirrors. But God also has masculine and feminine qualities. There's a Holy Father and a Holy Mother emanation that emanates from the Godhead, and then emanates the divine child, okay? So, anybody who's studied esoteric Christianity or Kabbalah or, yogic sciences, Tantra, all of them, you gotta, if you piece them all together as well, you will see that this is the architecture of creation. But the difference is in Satan or Baal or Moloch or whoever the opposer is, Lucifer if you like, those gender polarities are extremely polarized. So they're extremes to the ends and they're not unified. So extreme masculine, extreme feminine doing their thing. So, my teacher Emily, she teaches about the Lilith Azazel, which is the unholy union, and they're basically two demons, one's a male, the other's a female, and they're essentially wounded masculine and wounded feminine in this kind of narcissistic codependent dance. And those of you who've been in relationships, codependent narcissistic relationships, will know that, you know, it's a very real part of the healing journey to ask yourself sometimes, am I the narcissist? Because sometimes the codependent does behave in narcissistic ways. They mirror each other, and the narcissist behaves in codependent ways because y'all are mirror images of each other. You're basically mirroring each other's shadow aspects. So as you start to connect to the divine and the streams, the truth and love frequency that emerges from the Godhead, you start to unify those polarities. So divine feminine and divine masculine come into unification and actually start to become more and more similar the closer you get to the 0 point. So the divine masculine is protective, he is supportive, he defends, you know, he provides, he's heart-centered and benevolent and loving, because he has married his own feminine. He's in unification with the feminine principle. The feminine is, she's caring, she's compassionate, but she's not boundless, okay? She has that structure and that architecture of being married to the masculine principle, that she has boundaries and containment, and you know, self-esteem and courage, and speaks truth. So those are all masculine principles that she's then unified within herself, which is why the journey of Hirosgamos, or, you know, sexual alchemy, is such a powerful journey that we're actually all on, that will lead us all home. So yeah, going back to the whole Sam Smith thing, you know, whether they actually worship Satan or whether they're just doing it for attention doesn't actually matter, because it is basically the same thing. You don't have to believe in Satan to be a Satanist. Most atheists are actually pretty close to satanic ideology because they're not grounded in truth and love that is God. And I'm sorry if that sounds like judgmental or religiously dogmatic. I understand that that's a very real thing, that you know, with religious dogma, that is something that tends to turn people away from God, particularly people who, you know, who might be gay or might be trans. They might feel not accepted by their religious communities, and that's not something that we should be perpetuating within the truth or the truth community or the spiritual community, okay? We should be inclusive and we should be welcoming to people who identify differently and who have different sexualities. But at the same time, we should also be truthful. And, you know, sometimes certain things, you might get your feelings hurt, okay? As a woman, I have had to be very accountable to where, you know, my distortions are, okay? And the truth community does not like sugarcoat things, okay? We've held women accountable as much as anybody else, okay? We've held people of color accountable to where, you know, they've been acting like victims, or, you know, pulling the race card, or not empowering their own communities and blaming everything on, you know, white people and, you know, systems of oppression, and instead of just taking control of our own communities and our own lives. You know, all of that has had to happen if we want to genuinely be truthful, be honest with ourselves, and empower ourselves, okay? These are difficult conversations to have. Feelings are going to get hurt. Sometimes people are going to get offended, but we have to be able to have those confronting conversations. In my opinion, you know, I think pussyfooting around each other because we don't want to offend anyone is not helping, you know, our consciousness evolve if we're not willing to have uncomfortable conversations. And I'm also willing to be, you know, pulled up on things that I've said and told that I'm wrong about certain things, because I'm only one person, so I can only speak from my own experience and what I've studied. And there's only so many hours in the day. I can't study everything. So yeah, like yeah, it's just, in my opinion, it's just loosh harvesting. The whole spectacle was loosh harvesting. It's, you know, just there to get attention. It's there to get your outrage. I mean, I'm not really outraged. I just kind of rolled my eyes and I'm just like, okay, they're clearly desperate for attention. And they know that this will get it, because they know. Okay, so there was a couple of things that I forgot to mention. So I'm just gonna like add this bit in later during the edit. I don't know where it's gonna go exactly, but yeah, in terms of the lyrics of the song and the meaning behind the song, I don't think that anyone can argue that he's not promoting something that is satanic, or rather unholy, as the song is named. Then the name of the song is actually Unholy. So to say that he's not promoting something satanic, Mummy don't know Daddy's getting hot at the body shop doing something unholy. He lucky yeah. He lucky yeah. So they're not just stating that Daddy's being unfaithful, they're saying that he's lucky to be unfaithful. So they are promoting it. A lucky girl, she got married to a boy like you. Everyone is talking on the scene. So they're basically promoting sexual misery and marital infidelity, and just basically destruction of the family unit. They also mention the word Balenciaga. Obviously, y'all know the recent accusations against Balenciaga, the scandal where they're promoting child porn and paedophilia. So the fact that they're mentioning Balenciaga in the song is obviously not great. And they refer to my Balenciaga daddy. So they're also promoting sex work. It's just gross. Like, I don't know how anyone could say that they're not promoting a satanic agenda. Okay, if somebody doesn't think that they're promoting a satanic agenda, then that person doesn't know what satanic is, and they don't know what is godly. Okay, God wants us to be in union. He wants us to be in healthy, harmonious relationships. He wants us to have healthy, harmonious families. Promoting sexual misery and marital infidelity is basically promoting broken homes, broken children, and a broken generation. So, I really feel for this generation, the Gen Z that's coming up now, and the kids as well, who are going to be the next, whatever, Gen A or whatever they're going to be called. I mean, we had it bad enough with feminism, the third wave feminism, or whatever we had, that was promoting the idea that, we should have a career and men are trash, and, having a career is going to lead to happiness, and don't be a stay-at-home wife and mother, because that's demeaning, and you're more than that. I'm sorry, but if you're a stay-at-home wife and mother and you have a husband that holds you down and has you covered, I'm sorry, sis, but you made it. So many of us career girls, I went and got a career, okay, my whole 20s. I mean, I did want to get married and have kids, but I had a string of toxic, unhealthy relationships. A lot of it had to do with my negative programming, and my negative experiences, but a lot of it's also beliefs, which take a while to deprogram. Once you deprogram yourself, firstly you have to deprogram yourself from the trauma, and then you have to deprogram yourself from the belief systems that men are trash. Once you deprogram yourself from that belief system and you start to believe that men can be good and that there are plenty of good men out there, you start to meet them, and with much more ease. So I have a very healthy relationship now. I'm very, very happy with my partner, and if only I'd met him 10 years ago, if I'd met him 10 years ago, he would have been only 20 years old because he's a bit younger than me. But yeah, I don't think that I think that trying to find a solid masculine provider who wants to have a family is a very, very worthy aspiration for women. And I'm saying that as a 37-year-old woman who did the whole career thing, was pretty successful, travelled the world as an international model, Vogue covers, Harper's Bazaar covers, shot with some of the top photographers in the world, and it was amazing, and it was great, don't get me wrong. I could have done it, and I could have also still got married and had kids a lot younger, as a lot of models did, because a lot of models, obviously we're an international bunch, so you know, they have different value systems. They don't have necessarily this Western mindset that you've got to do it all on your own. A lot of them went into it to try and find certain guys and get access to certain guys, which personally I don't think are necessarily like the best quality guys. I think personally you'd be much better off finding good quality guys like at university, for example. And I'm not saying that women shouldn't pursue a career. I 100% think that women should pursue a career, should have their own thing going on, but that doesn't mean that you necessarily have to have a 50-50 lifestyle. But I do feel sorry for the kids now, because all your stuff around gender is like even more polarized and inverted and going the other way. Okay, I don't think, you know, I like, if you are gender dysphoric or transgender, that's fine. You know, if you know for sure and you've incarnated with that particular blueprint for whatever your soul's journey is, I'm not against that. But I don't think that it should be pushed on people. I don't think anybody should be choosing it, because it's a very difficult path. Like, I don't think we should be glorifying it, and certainly not pushing like the medical transitioning of children, because a lot of these kids and adults, like, you know, a lot of the adults who are getting the medical transitioning and then detransitioning have got severe mental health issues, because a lot of people do, because a lot of us are traumatized on this planet. And these doctors are just butchering people. Like, I just think it's completely unethical. I don't think it's necessary, which is why I say I think we should be more open-minded about, you know, gender ideology and the fact that two-spirit or like a third gender or, you know, gender non-conforming is a real thing, and people shouldn't necessarily have to, you know, take synthetic hormones or puberty blockers or get like top or bottom surgery to identify as two-spirit. But that doesn't necessarily make them like if you're born male, that doesn't necessarily mean you're not going to become female. Like, you know, anyway, it's a whole conversation. I understand it's really controversial, and, you know, a lot of people are going to have a problem with me talking about this, but I just think it needs to be talked about, because things are getting really crazy now. You know, I feel like my perspective, you know, not just as I don't even want to say cis woman, as a woman, okay, as a normal biological woman. As a normal biological woman, we should be able to weigh in on this conversation, because our spaces are being encroached upon. But also as somebody who studies masculine, feminine, alchemy and hieros, I feel like it's, you know, I have a responsibility to kind of weigh in on this subject a little bit. So yes, I'm going to slot that into the video somewhere. I mean, I just find it really crazy, because the left is all about like not offending people, and, you know, you shouldn't be doing this because don't you know there's people who have actually, like, you know, had actual harm done to them. Like, don't make racist jokes because people have had really, you know, traumatic experiences of racism, or, you know, don't make rape jokes because people have had really traumatic rape experiences, which I totally get, okay? I understand where the left is coming from with that. Y'all know I used to be very left-leaning. I still am in some respect quite left-leaning. But it's just crazy to me that they'll say that on one hand and then do a display like this and going, oh, it's just odd. It's just like, don't you know that there are people that have actually been in very traumatic satanic rituals and have had to participate in, like, go educate yourself, like, follow your own advice, leftists, and go and educate yourself and do some research on Satanism and satanic ritual abuse. Go look at the testimonies of Annika Lucas, of Jeanette Archer. Go and look at John Wedge's channel, okay? Go and look at the Hampstead cover-up, and then see if you think it's cool and artistic to do displays that are satanic. Like, it's not. It's just gross. Like, it's problematic at this point. And if you don't want to be problematic, then take your own advice and go look at why people are pissed off about this and why people might be outraged by this, even if you don't believe in God, even if you don't believe in Satan, even if you do feel maligned by religious communities, which I completely understand, okay? There's a lot of homophobia and a lot of transphobia in religious communities. I completely get that. But at the same time, look at, you're also really, really offending victims of satanic ritual abuse And actually, we're all victims of satanic ritual abuse, because if you really, really study Satanism and secret societies and dark occultism, you go look at Mark Passio's work. You know, he's amazing. If you don't like David Icke, Mark Passio does not talk about shape-shifting reptilians, okay? He's very grounded. You will see that we're all victims of satanic rituals, okay? So you're offending all of us when you do this stuff, okay? I'm not being outraged by it. I'm just speaking some truth that needs to be said about this. Yeah, I think that's all I want to say. But I am going to answer some of the questions that I got asked. So yeah, let's do the Q&A. Okay. Somebody asked, are you a model? Yes, I am a model. I've been modeling for nearly 20 years, but I'm also now a healer, and that's kind of the main thing that I'm interested in now. I still do modeling though, pretty much full time. And I'm currently based in Mexico City with Model Zone, who I really, really highly rate. If you are thinking about modeling in Mexico City, I highly recommend Model Zone as an agency. Somebody asked, what do you do to get back into your feminine flow after doing something like taxes? I mean, I've been super in a, like, okay, I don't want to say I've been in a masculine flow, because I've been both. I'm super balanced at the moment, and for me, my main, when I answered this on Instagram, I said something completely differently. I said self-care. So I get a fresh mani or a massage. I've been doing loads. I've been doing my manis. I've been giving myself like a fresh mani every week at the moment. I spoke about that in a previous video. It is partly because Nails Inc sent me all these beautiful nail polishes, but I was saying to my boyfriend the other day, I think it's also because it's my only creative outlet that I have at the moment, because I'm kind of, even though I'm based here now, I am essentially living out of a suitcase. Like we don't want Mexico City to be our forever place. We kind of want to move to the beach. I also have to go back to London soon. I don't have that much stuff here. In London, I have like, you know, like a whole like treasure trove of like beautiful fabrics and beads and jewelry making supplies because I used to study fashion, and you know, I love making my own clothes and my own jewelry and costumes and things like that, just whenever I have time, which I don't really have a lot of at the moment, because I'm like running this business and my modeling career, and I have a model scouting company as well, so I'm super busy. So mainly to get into feminine flow is I fucking sleep. I sleep a lot, and I think sleep is super important. I'm going to talk about that in another question that somebody has asked me. Another thing that I love to do is connect with community. Community is so important. And, you know, obviously with us being semi-new here, I've only been here for 3 months. My boyfriend's been here for like nearly 6. We don't know that many people here. And we're only just starting to like make friends here, and not just friends, but like individual friends, but like circles of friends and community, and, you know, connect with there's quite a big conscious community here in Mexico City, which we've just started to get into now. And there's some really beautiful events here. So yeah, like, it's super nourishing and uplifting, especially with both of us working so hard, just to be able to like connect with like communities of people, listening to amazing music, have conversations with people, and it's how we're going to build the new earth as well. So wherever you are, really try and get connected to communities of people who are like-minded and who are wanting to create things and, you know, have a positive contribution to society, because all our systems are crumbling now, and so we're going to have to forge new ones. So yes, somebody asked what's my age. I always get a bit funny about, like, I don't like answering when people ask me my age. I don't really like answering it. Not in person, I don't mind, but when it's like here on social media, I just don't really want to answer, but I don't mind saying it on my own. But I'm 37, for those of you who are interested. Yeah. Somebody asked, did I watch pro surfing in Bali? No, but I did go to Desert Point. There's a video on my channel where I went to Desert Point during a massive swell, and there were some pro surfers on that trip who were surfing that barrel. I wasn't really that interested though. I was more interested in the baby animals, which if you watch that video you'll see. I do love surfing my own waves though, but I'm still like a beginner when it comes to surfing. I'm not like amazing. Somebody asked any science-based books on effects of Kundalini, and I recommended Yoga and Kriya by Swami Satyananda Saraswati. It's a very, very technical book on yoga and yogic sciences. I will be honest, I haven't read it because I already have my materials from my yoga teacher training, so I don't really need it. But my mum has read it and she refers to it quite a lot. So that's why I recommend it, because I know that she highly rates it. She hasn't been initiated into a lineage. I recommend that anybody who really, really wants to study like the human anatomy, the human light body, Kundalini, yogic sciences, just do a yoga teacher training. It's highly worth it, even if you don't want to teach yoga. I learned so much, and you know, there's a lot to learn, and you're connected to a whole community of people that are all studying the same thing that you can ask anytime. It's like so much better than a book. Obviously books are great as well, so you know, get the book as well. Okay, somebody asked, how can we recognize what is new age, false light in the spiritual community? So I'm going to do a whole video on this, which I was already planning to do this week, but I'll do it next week now. I've got so many notes and so many things to say, but for now I would just say it's a combination of seeking objective knowledge from the outside and then using your own inner intuition. But your intuition, your processing system, which is your body, that's how you process things in, you know, your body, somatic intelligence, your intuition, needs to be clear of distortions, which is why I say that doing the somatic trauma healing work is so important. I teach a very powerful system, Himalayan Kriya Yoga, in my course, Reclaim Your Crown. It's very affordable. Highly consider joining that, so that the processing system that you use to discern whether the knowledge that you're inputting into a system is true or not is clear from those kind of distortions. Because if you have like a trauma response, then you're either going to over exaggerate things that could be partially true, and you're going to just run with that and take that as complete objective truth, which is why people get into either religious fanaticism or like leftism and like things like feminism and, you know, critical race theory and, you know, all those woke ideologies. And they don't see, I'm not saying that those things aren't, that there isn't truth in those things. There is, but it's not the complete objective truth, okay? Or you're completely just shut down to certain things because of trauma responses or triggers, because you just don't want to, or, you know, people will tend to like spiritually bypass certain things because they don't want certain things to be to be true, so they're not able to actually stomach certain things, so they just like to kind of, you know, just plaster over it with, you know, new ageism. So, you know, understanding natural law and, you know, doing trauma healing so that your input system, I highly recommend that you check out the Trivium method, particularly as taught by Mark Passio. Look, I'm just always going to recommend Mark Passio because I think that he's just one of the best for really, really cutting through all of these distortions, okay? It's very, like, a lot of what I teach is based on what I've learned from him, so that's why I will always recommend him. So, and then he also has a full 8-hour long seminar called New Age Bullshit and the Suppression of the Sacred Masculine, okay? Sacred masculine, i.e., you know, logic, rhetoric, you know, objective knowledge and truth is a masculine principle. So, yeah, I'll see if I remember, I'll link them in the description box below, but you can also just search them on YouTube. They're both completely free and very, very good resources, but I'll also do a video next week talking about it because not everybody wants to sit through a 7-hour presentation, but if you do, it will change your life, so you probably should, but just watch it in chunks, you know, it's highly worth it. Okay, somebody else asked me, how do I stay looking so young? Sleep. Sleep, okay, it's not the only thing. I'm also vegan, and I do think that that makes a massive difference. I've been vegetarian since I was 13, and then I first went vegan when I was 16. I mean, by 21, I was eating dairy and eggs again, but then I went vegan again when I was 28. So I've been vegan for like nearly 10 years now. And I'm not just like a junk food vegan, like I eat lots of plants and I don't eat much processed foods at all. I do eat tofu and soy and stuff, you know, I'm not against that stuff, but I try not to eat too much. But mainly I think it's sleep. Well, I don't know if it's mainly sleep, because for many years my sleep was really, really bad. But the last few years I have structured my life in such a way that I'm able to get enough sleep, because for all through my 20s I was very sleep deprived. I mean, I would make up for it. I would show up on shoots not having slept at all, and it was so miserable and just so hard on my body, and I started to get very, very burnt out, and it was blocking my success in other areas as well, because I wanted to I had all these business ideas. I wanted to launch a clothing line, and I just couldn't, because I was just fucking tired all the time because I wasn't sleeping enough. And I just thought, like, I don't even have, I struggle to like just do a full day's shooting. How am I going to do a 9 to 5? Because I just need sleep. And I think most people are sleep deprived. I think that's why we think that I look so young, when I think that this is how you're supposed to look when you're 37 if you're getting enough sleep, to be quite honest. I don't drink as much water as I should. I really, I should drink way more water, and, I can be naughty sometimes. I do drink alcohol sometimes. I do have a cigarette sometimes. I should know that those things aren't good for you. But I also just don't believe in being like a nun, or being like really like restricting and not having fun. I believe in like just living life and like being like a kid sometimes, like when I get together with my friends, I like to party and we like to live it up and dance and chat, and so I think if you have like 80 to 90% healthy habits, where you're getting enough sleep, you're meditating, you're eating healthy, and you're just not like drinking and smoking every single day, then every now and again, if there's a party, you can indulge a little bit and have a few glasses of wine or whatever it is. So yeah, those are all the questions. So yes, I love you guys, and thanks so much for watching. I'm actually very excited about this false light video that we're going to do next week, and it's probably going to be a long one, because there's a lot that I have to say on it, and I've made loads of notes already. So yes, we're going to do that. What did you think about what I had to say? Please share your comments and everything in the comment box below. My Facebook group for women is live. I've said it in all my previous videos. I know we've had some issues with the links, guys. I'll try and I've not been very good with posting the link on my Telegram and my Instagram, but I will, because the link only lasts 2 days, and I don't know why Facebook has done that. I think it's because of the privacy settings, just to make the group very, very secure and very private, because we don't want any weirdos in there. We don't want anybody who is not going to respect the intentions of the group. So if for any reason the link in the description box is not working, then DM me on Instagram and I will give you your own personal private link. And as soon as we have 20 to 30 women in there, I'm going to do a poll, and we're going to do a live video. We're going to have a live hangout. I'm going to do an activation for you all, so you can experience, what quantum field work. If you haven't worked with me one-on-one and you're curious about quantum field work, do join that group, because these activations that Emily has trained me in are life-changing. Those of you who've worked with me one-on-one will testify to that, and I will be adding the testimonials to my sales page soon. So lots and lots of things happening, exciting things happening at Substance Over Style and the Temple of Ishtar group. So yes, please join the group, and I will see you in there. As always, if you want to book a one-on-one session with me or a package, DM me on Instagram. I would love to assist you in that way. And yes, that's all for today, and I'll see you next week, guys. Peace out, one love. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.